Hey, it's Nana Plays Games, aka MPG. Merry Christmas! I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, eating ham butt and opening presents. And if you don't celebrate, I hope you're having a great day anyway. Today we'll be talking about a game I put a lot of hours into, Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC. Yep, just another excuse to make a Splatoon video. I played this game day one, and after a few attempts, I successfully climbed the spire. It wasn't until months later that I went to replay it again and again, and I was surprised at how fun it was. It's very experimental, can be pretty challenging, and is very different from the other single-player campaigns. The main question is, did this game earn its price tag? It may not be the best campaign, but I liked it a lot, and I still want to have a discussion about it. So, let's get started. Side Order is without a doubt the most unique campaign in all of Splatoon. Instead of traditional levels you travel to, there are floors of a spire you need to climb, 30 of them to be exact. Each floor gives you different levels and challenges to pick between, each one giving you different abilities. See, there are things called color chips in Side Order. A color chip gives you a new ability upgrade, like bombs doing more damage, increased fire rate, you know, important stuff. Some floors have the option for you to skip a challenge and go to a vending machine, where you can spend money on unique color chips, ones that'll give you the ability to change your sub-weapon and special. Depending on your combination of color chips by the end of the spire, you have a chance to be a coughing baby or a hydrogen bomb. Trust me, some climbs I felt absolutely invincible and others made me regret everything. Side Order is kind of a roguelike, in the scariest and most interesting ways possible. Each climb up the spire is different due to the many obstacles that'll be offered to you on each floor. The game also operates on a permadeath setting, where if you lose all your lives, you're kicked out of the spire and need to start all over again. You lose all abilities you acquired through color chips if you get a game over, so it can be pretty tense. My first time playing the game, I only got a few game overs, as it wasn't that hard, but there's a lot for you to consider. For example, the player can ask Marina to rearrange floor offerings if you don't get any options you like, but it costs money. You can also get different upgrades via hacks if you pay Marina before a climb attempt, which also costs money. This includes extra lives, being able to take more damage, being able to restart a floor with all lives, and other things to make your life a lot easier. The restart floor upgrade saved me when I was on the final boss for the first time. It's all a matter of being able to see what's most important in your next run, what you have most trouble with or whatever. The most interesting part of the game to me are the palettes you can use. Basically, a palette are the weapons, sub-weapons, and specials that are attuned to certain characters. For example, Shiver's main is the Tri-Stringer, so playing her palette will give you that main weapon. You can't change out the main weapon, but you can change out the sub-weapons and specials, which, thank God. Some of these specials, Marina specifically, are so bad it'd be a total nightmare if you couldn't switch them out. I really like the freedom Side Order gives you to basically make the most of your experience, though the freedom is limited. The most fun part about the game is being able to do what you want each time you climb each spire. Even in a situation where all offerings look dreadful, you at least get the chance to choose which would be the least horrible. That paired with the kind of game Side Order is makes it a super interesting game to play. With that out of the way, let's talk about the levels next. The levels in Side Order can get pretty tricky. Each level with a color chip attached ranges in difficulty. Easy, normal, hard, and rigorous. There are also different requirements for each. One requirement is pushing an 8-ball into its socket. These are a lot more forgiving than the 8-ball levels in Octo expansion. The level layouts aren't nearly as big, and the balls can't fly off the map and end with you instantly being killed. Actually, the only way for you to fail any of these levels is to get killed by enemies. Definitely not my fave levels, but they're cool. Next requirement is destroying portals. These were honestly my favorite kind of levels, and usually I pick them over anything else. With the many enemies that'll spawn out of the portals, it can be tricky to destroy them when you're getting bombarded by attacks. Next is killing all the speeding enemies. I found these levels to be super annoying sometimes, but there are clever ways for you to kill these things. Depending on what weapon you're using, it can range from a minor annoyance to a major one, but you usually won't die in these levels. Last but not least, we've got zones. Much like in the online multiplayer mode, you need to keep the zones inked with your own color for a certain amount of time. Tons of enemies, especially these irritating shits, will make it pretty hard, especially if you're playing with a weapon that isn't too good at inking. Looking at you, E-Leader. Each of these levels have a chance of having extra risk, whether the risk be more aggressive enemies, lights out, or any other potential run-under. High risk usually equals high reward, but it's up to you if you want to risk your run to get an OP upgrade. This was such an interesting idea to put in the game. Sometimes I'd be sitting there, pondering over whether or not I should take the risk, or be a wuss to stick to the things I know. Let me tell you, lights out with enemy ink everywhere is not for the faint of heart. These kinds of levels will have you take at least 15 minutes to beat them, when most levels should take no more than a minute or two. But like I said, it's up to the player if they want to risk everything for some good color chips and bonus points. Side Order does pretty well at making the player feel invested in the game, and you get to see more and more levels as you replay the game. Sounds pretty good if you ask me. So let's move on to the bosses. There aren't many bosses on Side Order, but there are definitely ones that stick with you well after beating the game. Bosses appear every 10 floors, and each run will probably lead you to a different combo of them since there are 4 bosses in total. You'll only have to fight Marina once on your first climb attempt, and her boss is absolutely beautiful. I don't know whose idea it was to have her wear her Final Fist outfit from Splatoon 2, but they were cooking. Fighting Marina was honestly a highlight, and her song is so melancholic yet soft and sweet until you hit the chorus. One of my fave Splatoon songs, to be honest. Moving on, all the bosses are easy peasy, but quite fun and creative. The AI for the parallel cannon doesn't suck like the enemy octolings in the previous title, so that's cool. It's probably the easiest bosses are all roughly the same size as you and go down even quicker. Can still make you feel pretty badass though. The asynchronous rondo is probably my favorite boss, mostly due to how it looks. It looks super intimidating, but it's actually pretty simple. There aren't phases per se, but I like how the boss is like a game of hide and seek. Pinging Marcia was probably the most challenging boss that wasn't the last one, due to the many enemies spawning and the fast attacks the spear throws at you. It's not hard at all to react to, so beating it is a cinch, but you'll have to go through multiple protective layers. The final boss, Overloader or Smollusk, is a little shit, but he's so adorable. The first time you see him, you might not feel that way, and I know I sure as hell didn't. I was on my last life, and I know my Switch was covered in sweat splotches. The boss may not be that creative, since all you have to do is destroy portals in order to break the shield on Smollusk, but it still had my blood pumping sometimes. Some attacks from Smollusk are based on specials, like the Reef Slider. I can't tell you how shocked I was to have my back turned, think I hear a Reef Slider, turn around, and lo and behold, a Reef Slider explodes in my face and kills me. I really wish I had screen recorded that because I was mad. Reactions like that honestly made the game more tense for me, and this boss really forces me to be on my toes more than I had anticipated, at least the first time around. Even the bosses get to be pretty unique from one another, and it's such a breath of fresh air. Side Order really flips premises traditional to Splatoon on their head, and it made me really excited. I do think that the bosses could have been harder, like they were in the previous Splatoon campaign, since it really didn't feel like I had to try here. My first couple of spire climbs I had a bit of trouble, but after a while I didn't have to really try anymore, which was disappointing. Even so, the bosses were pretty good and did what the game needed them to do. Now let's dive into the story. The story in Side Order was probably the only thing in the game I could have liked more. The disappointing thing about the narrative is that it's kinda non-existent outside of Marina's dev diaries. Even so, there's a decent amount of dialogue you'll see as you continue completing the spire with each palette. Her diary entries may be brief, but her retellings of interactions between her, 8, and Pearl are super sweet. Marina's character is also elaborated on a bit, as the spire was meant to be a program to desanitize octolings, bringing back their memories and emotions. The program ends up getting corrupted, and since A volunteered to be the first participant, we get the main events of the game. The AI, which ends up being Smollusk, went rogue and wanted the true order or erasure of self-control for Angopolis, and to an extent the entire world. This isn't too bad of a premise, but the rogue AI going haywire bit has been done to death, so I would have rather seen something new. I also really wish we got to know more about Oct, or see more from her in general. She was a big reveal in this game, yet it feels like she's just forgotten about for a huge portion of the game. And Marina's speech here, while it's very nice, doesn't make sense for her to say. She didn't have anything building up to this, and sure she spent a lot of time with Pearl, but I would have liked to see more period development from her. To be honest, not much happens in terms of story. I guess due to how the game is set up, there's no real moment to breathe or have much dialogue amongst characters, but I still find this to be pretty disappointing. I keep thinking that they could have had more story reveals for each run you did with new weapons, but I digress. And I would have really liked to see D-Cut get some much needed attention.
Please, Daddy.
I told you, when I'm finished, you can have what's left.
There won't be any left. There's never any left.
Either way, for the official sequel to Octo Expansion, it leaves a lot to be desired. After finishing the game, I was just kinda like, what did that all even accomplish? I loved Side Order, and I liked that it was a roguelite, but not at the price of sacrificing a meaningful story. I guess I'm just happy with Perlina's scraps. My jaw dropped at some of their dialogue. Now, let's wrap it up. So, let's get back to my original question. Was the Side Order DLC worth $25? Let's consider a few things first. There are a lot of levels throughout the game, though you have to replay the Spire a few times to see all of them. The levels are pretty unique, though I did miss the traditional feel of the ones from Splatoon 1, 2, and 3. The bosses weren't very challenging, and even though they were fun, I wish there were more of them. The story leaves a lot to be desired, and it had some moments that I liked, but it mostly felt like fan service. Replaying the game is what gives it value and meaning, as it can't properly stand alone if you've only played it once. So, was it worth $25? In my opinion, and this is coming from a big Splatoon fan, no, it wasn't. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, but if you're gonna charge almost half of the base game's price for a DLC, you gotta work for it. Still love the game though. I was super stoked to play this game. Okay, I just wanted the off-the-hook emote, but how fun the DLC is was a bonus. Side order could have been a lot more impactful, but for what it's worth, I had a lot of fun with it. Not every game has to be perfect in order for it to have value, though I wish it was a bit more worth its price. If I had to go back and forth with my boyfriend to buy it for me again, I would. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Again, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. This is MPG. Peace out.